It is February 22nd, 6:04. I'm calling this meeting to order of the library trustees. Did I say we have a quorum? We have a quorum.
Everyone present except for Nick Sokrat and
Is
Daniel.
Dawn there?
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
So today is a palindrome, right? 2-2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
2-2.
Means it should be an awesome meeting.
It's Tuesday. I heard someone.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Right.
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Cute. All right. Did everybody have a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Each minute is comprised of 60 seconds and 60 minutes equal 1 hour. Good to know. Any comments, changes, questions on the minutes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes for January.
Yeah, so moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The minutes are accepted. Moving on to financial report.
There's not a lot new to report since last month, other than I have spent more on circulating materials in the past month to make up for kind of being behind in where we'd expect to be spending in that process. And ebook circulation so far for February reflects that. We didn't have a lot of movement in any of the private accounts this month. We had a few, about $200-300 extra come into the building donations with interest account. And I spent the $16.50 out of the library incentive.
Did we
grant.
approve that?
I'm sorry?
It's kind of extravagant.
Yes, I was joking. I said, do we approve that?
We did actually, because
Oh.
a few meetings back, the invoice for the electrical work, which was approved at town meeting in November, I think, of 2020, was finally done, but the costs ran over by $16.50. So we covered it out of this.
Good to know.
Other than that, the Moan historical books, this account is going to disappear soon. Michael Moan, who donated, to the library every year for us to buy historical books, passed away actually a few years ago now. And we're kind of getting to the end of how far we're able to take those funds. I've talked to his son, but his son does not have the same interest in donating money to our library in memory of now what would be his great grandparents who lived in Douglas, almost 80 years ago. So, there's not much of a charitable connection there anymore. So this account's not going to have any new money flowing into it.
Okay.
And other than that, everything's the same as last month.
So
Great.
did Danielle get any response from Matt on the interest-bearing accounts?
Not that I've heard, unless she has communicated anything with y'all. She sent an email to Matt on December 30th, which was, before our last meeting. And in the last meeting, there was nothing new to report because he hasn't responded. So she emailed him again on January 26th. I sent a follow-up email on February 8th. We've corresponded since then, but he hasn't responded to any of that. So I'm going to see him in person tonight because we're both going to be at the FinCom meeting, and I'll poke him about that then and ask him what's up. Because, at this point, it is, you know, I'm getting offended on y'all's behalf.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is that called? Ghosting, or what is that?
Yeah, ghosting. He's ghosting Danielle at least. Okay.
All right, moving on to director's report.
I hate it when it does this and puts a heading on the bottom of a page, but all right.
That's like
so
what, a
far
widow
with
or an
the
orphan or something?
Valentine books.
That's right.
Donation. We had 9 books adopted.
Nine.
I hope we get more because I know, you know, the paper is coming out mid-month, didn't carry the story till mid-month. And so maybe we'll get more before, you know, it turns February and we wind it to a close. But 9 books, I think, is pretty good.
That's good.
Jeremy, our page, has resigned after paging for us for 4 years.
No.
It was kind of a shock to me to realize it had been 4 years looking over his paperwork, because I was like, oh, it's just, you know, we hired him last year. But no, he's been here for a while at this point.
Yeah.
He just outgrew the position, though. He's a full-time college student. He has another nearly full-time job. For the time being, I'm offering all of the page hours to Anastasia to cover. We'll be happy to have them. It'll kind of be a trial run to see how it goes. And, you know, there's whispers on the breeze that the personnel compensation scales might be updated soon. And that's something I would like to happen, you know, right before, you know, before I hire a brand new person who might be with us for a while. Tonight, I'm reporting to FinCom. That meeting starts at 7, but I don't think they'll be ready for me until about 8. And tomorrow, I'm reporting to the Capital Improvement Committee. All that information is going to be later in the agenda. Rebecca is back. She's back to her normal work. And we're using some of the money donated for the archive to buy her a bigger L-shaped desk. It's actually already down there. We've just got to put it together. We're upgrading her computer to Windows, and she's buying another round of archive supplies because there was a bunch of a big, pretty significant collection of library-related material in the bad half of the attic, as we refer to it, on the other half where the bats used to live and we don't have collections. And there's some fascinating stuff in there, like the list of books that had to be destroyed due to scarlet fever. And
Wow.
old, you know, how to run the library manuals from the 1940s and
Wow.
other interesting things that she's going to process, go through, and make finding aids for.
Cool.
And she's got like $3,000, I think, at this point, that's sort of in just the donation account that is was donated to her by Wayne Shoemate when he came to do research from Georgia. And the rest of that you can just ignore. That's not supposed to be there. That is copy and paste error.
Oh.
Right. That's, yeah. It passed
And-
for everyone.
Concerning COVID, I think the mask mandate is going to go away at the municipal center soon. I know it's
Okay.
going away for the schools at the end of the month, and I don't plan on keeping it in effect here any longer than anyone else does.
Okay.
Everyone just kind of seems ready to move on. Everyone's comfort levels have changed, and with Omicron wave past, it's a lot more endemic. So I'm hoping we can see these go soon. As far as circulation goes, January was really bad. It was so bad I don't even want to talk about it. Circulation was terrible. I don't know if it was cold weather or Omicron, but you know, it was especially was sad on the heels of 2021 when it seemed like things were actually bouncing back in January and getting even more busy than usual. And then January 2022 it was just bad. We circulated more in the first 3 weeks of February than we did in the entire month of January. Everyone was, no one borrowed anything. Only 1,345 books. And that's the end of my report.
All right, moving on to old business, building projects. Ramps, handicap access using ramps.
I talked to Dick Skinner earlier this afternoon. He was originally planning on coming to this meeting, but he just told me to pass along that he's not made any real progress yet. He's got a lot of little pieces together. The next step he wants is an architect. And he's having a hard time finding an architect who's willing to work on it. He's called some schools, architecture schools, to find students who might be willing to look at it. His next quest is he saw in the New Exbridge Times that one of the, like Douglas honor roll students is going into the architectural field. And so he's going to try to contact them. So I don't know if he'll get anywhere or not, but he's trying. And he'll let us know when he has something.
Okay.
Great. Well, we appreciate it. All right, electrical systems and plastering.
The project is finally out to bid. Matt posted it, I think, last Thursday. And it went out to bid on Combis, and it'll be out to bid for 3 weeks. 2 is the minimum something has to be out for bid for. He wants to do for 3 because then it'll hit more advertisers in like newspaper publication cycles. I've had one additional contractor so far request a building walkthrough, but that's the only thing I have to report there. But by the time we have another trustee meeting, then we'll have all of our bids.
That's good.
Good. It's exciting.
I know.
All right, any other building news?
Nope.
If not,
Adam did his annual inspection last week, and the roof and the exterior and all that looks good.
great. That's good. All right. Anything for grants?
Capital campaign, we inched up a little bit, but not a significant movement since last meeting.
1%, not bad.
Not enough to bump us up 1/10 of a percentage point. We're still 30.
Oh,
All right. LRP updates.
Furniture was a subheading on the agenda because we were
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about the benches.
That's
And
right.
Donna Metz suggested holding on to the benches until the Fall Friends auction and just making them a biddable item then and seeing what happens.
They are cool benches.
And that's fine with me. And I was hoping to get the room sort of sorted out and organized and streamlined sooner rather than later, but it's the way it has been for a long time. So another couple months isn't going to hurt anything.
It's for you.
Wait, who's whispering? What was that?
It sounds like we have a ghost.
I have company, sorry. It's me.
Oh,
Trying to do 2 things at once.
I know. All right. Anything new for friends, Ellie?
Yeah, we've, we sent out our
yeah.
flyer, and I don't know, Justin, can you look up and see if there's anything in my mailbox, the Friends mailbox?
I can. I'll be right back.
But we've raised so far, memberships bring in about $3,000 a year, and we're over $2,000, which is sort of better than normal.
great.
Good.
Yes, you have stuff up there.
A lot?
I think 5 envelopes ish.
Oh, not much then.
Yeah. So they go that long, Ellie? Like it takes a couple months for it all to filter
We
in?
have until December 31st, or
Oh,
even before we send out the flyers. They have all year. I've had memberships come in using, forms that had been sent out 2 years previous.
Wow.
You know,
Well,
I mean,
people aren't that
they-
organized.
yeah, or they had good intentions. You could tell.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to hang
Check
on
is
to
dated
this.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
I
So
think we've had
it-
trustees join
but-
too in like November and December.
What?
So I think in the past you've had trustees that have joined the Friends and donated in like November. and
Oh, at the end of the year.
Yeah, maybe. And about half the trustees have joined in. I haven't sent in my membership, so I'll be the 6th envelope this week.
More to come.
It's good.
That's it.
Any
think.
other old business?
I have none.
New business? Budget.
It's budget time.
Woohoo.
Okay.
So
So this
I'm
is this week, Justin, you're going?
yeah, it's right after this meeting.
Okay.
So I just pulled up what I sent to the finance committee because I'm presenting to them tonight. And I wrote up a blurb about how much the library is worth because we circulated, $696,360 worth of materials to our patrons in Douglas. And that does not include the 7,022 physical and 20,126 digital loans that we provided to the rest of, our consortium libraries. It also doesn't include the non-quantifiable services such as our book club, story times, community space, archival preservation, research and technical assistance offered to patrons. So, doing that math, for every taxpayer dollar invested in the library last fiscal year, the community got a value of at least $2.66, spread out over 3,757 active patrons. So, it's not like, we do have super patrons who use the library a lot more than others, but we did have 3,757 individual active accounts last fiscal year. So, that value is spread out.
Yeah.
No one's talked about MAR now in a number of years, so I hesitate to even bring it up, but in the interest of transparency, our MAR right now would be calculated at $256,000. And I just want to make clear to FinCom and everyone that is a minimum level of funding, which is comparable to like the minimum net school spend you hear them talk about a lot, which is, almost like, it's a curse. You never want to be that low. So I don't want our budget, driven by that again until it is necessary. The town administrator's current suggested budget, according to that, original 5-year plan, of which this is the last year, our budget was $270,748. However, I'm going to be asking for an additional 2,000 to make it 272,748, because I didn't realize this, but apparently it was voted on by the Board of Selectmen to make $1,000 a year longevity bonuses a bylaw that happens until the personnel compensation scales are updated. So until, those tables that determine what everyone into the town gets paid, that everyone votes on at town meeting, get an upgrade or an update, to bring them into line with modern reality instead of the reality of whenever they were made, which was a long time ago. Everyone who has worked for the town for 10 or more years is just going to get a $1,000 bonus. That is not historically been part of my budget math, and it was not part of the 5-year plan math, whenever those spreadsheets were made. So that's in there. Other than that, there's not any real changes to the number of hours of personnel working. My salary is set. Deb and Gail is eligible for a step. Deb is already at her maximum steps. Rebecca is a part-time person. She will get a step. Cost of living increase is 2% this year. And so the personnel part of the budget is kind of just, it's what it is unless we change, hourly schedules. The electric, heating, other utilities. Electric is, the mini splits, lights, it's the electric bill. Heating is oil for the furnace, which I have ran a little bit more this year since I got yelled at last year for not using it at all and letting the oil nearly go bad, apparently. Other utilities is water and sewer bill. Repairs and maintenance is just a line item that we've added in to try to take care of the servicing, the mini splits, and doing other little random odd jobs. Other property related expenses is the fire alarm and the custom alarm security monitoring service. Professional technical is our CWMR's assessment, which our assessment actually isn't that much. It's just a little over 8,000. But they don't want to mess with the numbers. So if I've got the extra money, I can just add it to circulating materials. Phone, postage, other services was Wowbrary, which is the thing that makes the automated Facebook posts about what new mess books we have. And it's a newsletter that people can subscribe to. And that there's talk of the Friends maybe picking that up next year, but it's still part of our budget here. So if they end up not, then we can, we'll have that money for books.
Well, I think what I was trying to say, why I think on this year's budget is $400. And it came in the bill came in for less than $400. So it's sort of a free piece of dough there. That type of thing I'm not a big fan of. But I had suggested that if Justin and all of you want the Friends to pay for the Wowbrary bill, we will do it. But I want the explanation to FinCom to be that we feel we need more money in another area, and it could be electrical. I don't know how much I didn't look back, and I don't have my minutes or anything in front of me. I just got home. So I don't have a feel for where it could be put better. And so that's, I don't know if I'm being understandable right now. So, but I'm not willing to support it as a friend unless if you've got it in the budget, in your operating budget. So that's and I didn't realize that last year. And the Friends don't meet until April for their annual meeting. So that's when we approve stuff. And I think I said, yeah, we could pay for that, but it was already in the budget, so that's where
the Friends don't have to pay for it if the Friends don't want to, and I can use that line item and the Friends can use the money for something else. If it gets covered by the Friends, I would just end up allocating it towards somewhere else in the budget, because I do like to spend our operational budget down to zero, even if that means overshooting a little bit and having to augment with grants, because then we're turning every dollar we can into, people reading stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's just that I don't, if it's in the budget and that you've, or this is the town administrator's budget for us, why the Friends aren't going to pay for it then because it's in the budget, if it's approved, if they start nickel and diming us like pre-override times, then we'll have to use it for other stuff, But I just I don't think that having this taken on by the Friends would be a good thing to do at this point if it's in your regular budget.
Then it's there. So use that money and put it towards the building fund.
Right. I mean, that's,
So, I mean, like the
Yeah.
Friends money is, I hesitate to take things that are in the budget and have the Friends pay for it because that money is flexible.
I mean, the
So my-
town has voted your budget. So they've approved of your budget. So they're approving of this Wowberry service.
That is fair.
Okay, yeah, no. Yeah, I'd like to put more from the Friends into the high interest bearing building account.
Okay, so that's Wildberry.
Mhm.
And office supplies is office supplies. Custodial supplies is basically restroom stuff. And cleaning materials, circulating materials is that's the biggest chunk of our operational budget is that's why we're here. And right now it's just at $60,000, which is significantly more than it has to be because we are only required to do 19%, 272,748 times 0.19. According to the NBLC rules, we only have to spend 51,822 on circulating material, but it's why we're here. So, I mean, I'm always happy to spend more if we can. Other supplies is things that just don't fit anywhere else. Book jackets, book processing materials, shelves, things that are not office supplies, but are supplies we need anyway. Which brings our operational total to 82,007 and the total budget request to 272,748.
Sounds good.
And I'll also be mentioning to them, that the library ceiling project was Article 2 of November 2021, and explaining that, it's out to bid. We hope it's going to be not $75,000. I think it's just going to be a little bit over 50,000. Explain some about the capital campaign, and they wanted a summary of the other money that is in the library accounts. So there's a summary for there, and it explains what we typically do with stuff. The library incentive grants, often used for technology upgrades and unforeseen repairs and maintenance. The revolving accounts, just replacement item fees, that kind of thing. And then it ends with just, telling them to come get library cards and never hit questions.
Yeah, no, that's good to do.
But I'm hoping that before tonight's meeting, we can, approve this, alter it if it needs to be altered, and then approve it. And then it'll have the approval of the trustees, and I can say, this is our budget request. Although I don't really think it's a request because I don't think they have the power to deny us anymore. I don't know and understand how all this works anymore, but
Yeah.
They have the ability to recommend or not recommend something going into town meeting, but the budget is set by the selectmen who go by Matt's spreadsheet. And so, we're requesting this, and it's, that's where things stand right now. It's a much different process than whenever I first started.
Yes. Definitely is.
And I'm not complaining about it because it's so much more than our minimum requirement, which was what governed our budget for the first 3 years I was director, and it was terrible.
Yep.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept this as the library's budget for fiscal year 2023.
Second it.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor
Aye.
accepting this budget?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right.
That makes it easy.
Woohoo!
I have to change anything and make new PDFs. The next thing is capital plan.
Oh, right, the capital plan.
So I always hate doing this without bringing it to a trustee meeting first, but in, what seems to be normal town administrator fashion, I got an email like 2 weeks before they wanted this done saying, want your capital requests in this new form and the live municipal SharePoint by such and such date. So do it. So there's a new format for the capital request form. So they gave me these 1-sentence prompts and told me to fill them in. So, and this is the only capital request I made was for the accessibility renovation. I jokingly said that if we ever have other capital needs, we'll just keep bringing them up at town meeting as articles. And Jean kind of stared me out of her office. It was a joke, but the big
Never
thing,
joke during budget season.
is the big thing what we're working on. So I said I put the scope of the 1-sentence description: renovate the library building to make the first floor and basement usable public space that can be accessed by patrons and staff of all abilities in compliance with the American Disabilities Act. Describe the service provided and to the public and the assets role in delivering it. Well, I mean, the asset we're talking about is our building. So, I mean, it houses our collection and is where we do everything. So that's kind of, I mean, it's not like I'm describing a generator or a vehicle or something. I mean, it is the library. Disclose an illegal exposure, service failure, or threat of life or property. This was new. So, I pointed out that, the ADA, it continues to be a sore spot. It's a barrier. It's a miracle no one has litigated yet over, I've literally carried wheelchair bound children up the steps and into the basement. And,
Yeah.
We don't typically see people after that happens once or twice. They disappear, which is terrible. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I did fix this, Kate, in the final draft.
Thank
Yeah, that's a
you.
good one. Good catch.
Old, unfixed version, where it just men with children will carry them on their arms and carry 5
Right.
groceries and their other burly hairy arms. So, I do apologize for that. It is fixed in the version that's online.
Thank you.
Thank you for pointing it out.
I'm sure it's mostly mothers, but
I should be the last person to make that kind of slip since I was a stay-at-home dad for 2 years, but I did. I did measure the restroom. It is only 3 feet wide and 6 feet 1 inch tall, which gives me 1 inch of clearance. If I step there, I hit my head. And, you know, I also pointed out another point of service failure is that our space is insufficient for the public to spread out, which has especially been an issue in the last 2 years. You know, if a group of teens is in here on one half of the library and another group is looking for a quiet place to study, there's not one. If someone comes in looking to have, you know, a private meeting with someone else and there's a story time going on downstairs, then they're out of luck. We don't have enough, you know, space to meet the public demand of people who are looking for, you know, space outside their homes to do things that's not, you know, at a Starbucks or something. I uploaded every document ever to the SharePoint on the Capital Improvement Committee's website, all the way back to like the original, hey, let's have Chris Farley write up a plan for making a library building. And I think that, you know, it underscores the fact that this has been going on, you know, since the 1990s. And so, you know, it's not, this isn't a new thing. This is something that we've been working on, trying to make happen for a long time. The one point that, you know, it's, I don't have a number. They want a number.
Yeah.
They want a number assigned to the project, and we just don't have one, because to have a number, you have to hire an architect to give you a number, and we've elected not to hire an architect and spend money until we have a bigger number, which I think makes sense. But it also means that in terms of a project cost estimate to give the Capital Improvement Committee, we don't have one. So I just put in $2,836,315 because that's the estimated project of the original architectural project that never happened, that we don't anticipate will ever happen, but it's the closest thing we have to an accurate number that there is. And it's a bigger number than should happen, because those plans involve doing a lot more to the library than we want to do at this point. And a lot of the things that entailed have been done. We have updated our heating and cooling system. We do not plan on raising the ceiling of the mezzanine. You know, we've got an alternative parking situation sorted out where we don't need that ingress and egress going out in the big pavement weird stuff anymore. I mean, it's going to be a lot. I mean, I know that the $400,000 goal was a goal that we wanted to have, you know, so that we could hire, you know, an architect, go through the project, and then end that phase with money left that we could say, hey, look, Capital Improvement Committee, we've got this much to put towards it. Can y'all do the rest of it? We don't know what that number is yet. So
yeah. I thought we were actually raising $400,000 to do the job. And I didn't realize this job is over $2 million. I missed something. And here I am, the secretary. I just, there's something I'm not understanding. And
I mean, I think the project will end up being somewhere between $400,000 and $1 million. I have no idea where in that, because I have no, you know, I just don't know. And, you know, we spent a lot of time trying to poke Bill Cundiff, trying to get him to sort of weigh in, and, you know, nobody will. No one will give you what they think this will cost. They will say, you've got to go, you know, spend $90,000 to go through an architectural process to, you know, get a drawing build designed, and then someone can give you an estimate.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. I mean, I think it'll be less than $1 million, but I don't know. The only reason I put this number there is because they, let's see, provide a detailed explanation of how you arrived at the amount of your funding request. Scan and upload any quotes you have obtained or any information you gathered from publicly available sources indicating prices and other relevant cost information. So that's why I put in the 2 million number, because that's what we have on paper.
It's good that it's in there, though, because they're thinking of big plans for the highway, fire, and police, and it would be helpful for them to be aware that the library is going to need some money, too, so they put that in their plannings.
Hmm.
Well, I'm on the capital committee, so I'll try to keep my mouth shut tomorrow. Oh yeah, but I'm being remote at it. So
Well, I still don't have like a good firm understanding of how all of this with the capital committee, capital improvement committee works, because we've done it once with the security alarm system, and every other thing that the town has paid for the library has been an article
Yeah.
since I
I
started.
don't think Capital has $2 million for
well, there's all
separate.
the money that came from COVID, that municipalities are trying to figure out how to spend. And we certainly help that population. I mean, the library helps them. So
Well, in the paper, Fatman got a whole lot of grants for various things from that COVID money. I don't know if we didn't know we should apply for them or what happened, but a lot of local projects got fixed with that money.
I know.
He said that he would try to, I didn't talk to Fatman, I talked to McKenna, and he said that he was going to work to get some earmarks on the next round of budgetary stuff. He wasn't optimistic about them going through, but he said he would try.
It might have been that they were shovel ready and we weren't.
It seems that the library is the only department in town that has to go out and aggressively raise money for
Yeah.
these town projects. The town didn't approve the, multi-million-dollar library that the state wanted it to build. And I somewhat agree with what happened there, that it was way too large.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we need the handicap.
It's infuriating because that's what makes it hard to get projects like these earmarked, is because everyone looks at the MBLC and says, you already have a funding mechanism. You don't need
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, Moore, Senator Moore was running for re-election and Fatman beat him, but he promised Webster 75% reimbursement for their library, which is all done now, as to try to get the vote of Webster in his favor. But Fatman beat him. So, but he had already got the money appropriated by the state, for that. That was pretty tricky. But anyway, I just have a hard time going back to the $2 million thing, but I'll be interested in seeing what I think Mike Fitzpatrick is a really good selectman. He works hard at what he does, and so I'll look forward to seeing how he handles the whole thing and shoot.
And I'll be upfront with the committee tomorrow too, saying, I put a number here based on old information, but I don't know what the number is going to be.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because we don't know what we're going to do yet.
Right. Well, I thought we did. I thought we were going to, and then Dick Skinner came along with another thought with putting a ramp up instead of an elevator. But I thought we were basically putting the elevator up and down and creating a handicapped bathroom. And that's
Yeah, I think we know what we're gonna do. We just don't know how it's gonna break out and what it's gonna cost, because whenever we had that meeting with the joint building and facilities construction and library trustee meetings, these are the 4 things that need to be the scope of the project: an entrance that is accessible, code compliant paved parking, an elevator to provide access to both floors, and an accessible public restroom. So I mean, once we've got $400,000, my impression is that we create a project scope of this. Oh, this is a touch screen. I just realized that. I touched my screen and it made it. That we would put, this pretty much into a request for proposals, and then put it out for architects to come back and say, okay, here's how we think you can do this as cheaply as possible. And then we could look at plans, and hopefully we have options to choose from.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have ideas of how we think it can be done the cheapest, like I'm imagining something exactly like what Aaron Sokrat drew out, a little entrance that's on the back of the children's room, and then putting the restroom where the furnace stuff is right now, and then doing a small parking lot that's connected to that. But I mean, I'm not an engineer. Someone may come up with a cheaper idea or a more efficient idea.
Yeah, but we don't want to spend 30 more years of this.
Yeah.
I wanted something done before I die.
Me too.
Well, don't die soon.
I'm not going to make it to 100.
You seem pretty spry. I mean, I have no idea how old you actually are. But...
Well, I'm sure you can look it up in the library.
Well, I could.
The library card. You can spy and figure it out. You can look it up in the town report, the street list. This thing, which I love.
Just save him a step, Ellie.
Okay, well, so I would approve what the 4-item thing would be. But I don't, again, as you say, that's not, these 1, 2, 3, 4, that's not, we don't know what it's going to cost. And as long as you explain to them that it's, based on what was the last time we had an architect around and this has, I guess, inflation or whatever happens added to it. But so that, do you need a motion or what? But that's
No.
These 4 things, I wouldn't go into getting the children's, the other 2 where Rebecca is and then where Deb's storage room is. I wouldn't do that renovation right away. I think that should be another step, or that's my feeling.
These are all related things. They'll have to do with accessibility. So it makes sense to have them as a package, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you add those somewhere in this proposal, Justin? I think.
Just those 4 points?
Yeah.
Yes, I should be able to.
I know that Dawn and Kate were on that committee, and I think Danielle too, with building and facilities, and I think Mike Fitzpatrick was on it as well. So was that what you guys were sort of working on too, or was it something else?
Yes, that's how the 4 points came about.
Right. Yeah, because we had investigated, we were trying to get Bill's expertise and Mike's expertise and kind of figure out what was needed. And we had talked with the people about the paving materials and some architects, but then it got complicated.
Yeah.
Where's the delete button? Do I have one? This is the town's SharePoint.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Okay.
progressive.
It's here. Make sure that's select refresh.
Good. 6,
Oh.
8,
No,
I hate that.
and 9.
I knew it was going to do something crazy.
Yep. Word. It's always painful to have to use Word.
Change them to bullets. There we go.
There we
Oh,
go.
good. Yeah, that's good.
There.
That's good. I think that makes sense. So this is already submitted, basically.
Well, everything is live now. And that's the way the budget process is working. And
Yeah.
so like this is the Capital Improvement Committee's SharePoint. The instructions were to go in and change the file names to department specific things. Where's my folder? I made a folder. There it is.
Wow.
Yeah, we went earlier than Farley, though. We had a woman come in, and we also had the local architect firm come in, and we had a meeting with the head of the building place at the Board of Library Commissioners. I can't remember her name, but she's retired, long gone. So that was before before all of that. I think I gave you, didn't I, Dawn, give you something from the local?
Yeah, I have the folder still with some of the like the paper drawings.
Yeah, do you have a
If that
date for that?
Say again?
Do you remember what the date on it was?
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Maybe I should bring those back to the library that they've been here. So I know exactly where they are, but they've been here for a long time.
Yeah, and that would, because they were hanging around my house and I said, okay, I can clear up this pile.
Give it to Rebecca to archive.
Yes, right, exactly.
There we go.
A whole subject on building.
You laugh, but she
True.
will. She actually prints out
totally
all of
will.
my Douglas Way newsletters and puts them in an archive so that someone can find them in 50 years.
Yeah.
Wow. She's so good.
Yeah, that's good.
So do we need a motion on this or anything, or it's
No.
already kind of a done deal?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, like it's the same request we've
Yeah.
made to the Capital Committee for years now, just in an updated format.
Right. Okay.
And I think it's good that Mike Fitzpatrick runs the Capital Committee, where he understood those 4 items. the 4
Yep.
months now. So that's good. We pursue that.
All right, we lost our agenda. Is there anything else?
No, I can bring
Bring
it back.
goes again.
I just
Actually,
wanted to see some people instead of my screen.
I know, it's nice. I think that was it anyway, wasn't it?
Just the adjourning and
Next meeting, March 22nd, back to 5. All right.
Oh, boy.
Did we miss new business? Oh, I guess the budget was new
I think
business.
we said there was
Any
nothing.
other new business?
Good
I plan on taking a vacation in May.
for you.
Sounds good. All right, next meeting, March 22nd.
So we're saying five, is that what we decided on?
5 is good.
Hmm.
So did I see that Baker had extended the virtual meeting thing again?
Oh, I don't know.
It's supposed to expire in April sometime, wasn't it?
I thought I saw somewhere that he had extended it, but I'll have to look again.
But it
This
would
is
be
so
nice.
convenient.
Yeah, it would be if the selectmen decide to, without discussing it with anybody, to have to disband or not allow these types of meetings. I think that's wrong. And because I think it does work. I think that's one good thing that came out of COVID, that we could
Yeah.
do it this way. So
Mhm.
I agree.
we'll find out, eventually what's up with all of that.
Yeah, I'm a bit behind on the news. I've been trying not to look.
It's pretty disturbing.
Hmm.
All right. We didn't adjourn, did we?
No.
I've lost track.
Well, I make a motion
Those in
to
favor?
adjourn at
Oh, yes.
7:01 here.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.